Welcome to Still with Purpose. This is Amanda and Christy.
Our goal is to dig deep and discuss real, raw subjects in pursuit of greater self-awareness, positive transformation, and healing, and to link arms and journey with you as we discover purpose and passion in life together.
Before we jump in, we'd like to ask if Still with Purpose has ever helped you feel seen, encouraged you to heal, helped you to breathe a little deeper, think differently, or reminded you that you're not alone. Please take a moment to follow the show, leave a review, and share this episode with someone you believe would get great value from it.
That simple act helps this message reach more humans, and we are so grateful for every single one of you walking this journey with us. We're so glad you're here. Let's get into today's conversation. Hi, today we're talking about this question: who in your life is easiest for you to criticize, and what might that criticism reveal about you? What's our quote, Amanda?
Okay. A critical spirit sees faults everywhere except in the mirror. I have some thoughts on this because I personally feel like the most critical people actually hate who they see in the mirror. So it goes against the quote. It's kind of exact opposite. But really, the quote means to me that they are so critical that they don't see how judgmental they are. So they're missing that aspect of the mirror per se. And then I went into the question, who's the easiest person for me to criticize? I would say hands down me. And the second, anyone that might make me look bad, hurt my ego or business or my character by being in a relationship with them. So almost by association. And I went pretty hardcore. I'll let you pipe into about what yours is. So be thinking about it. Third, I would say people I use as a scapegoat so I don't have to look at myself. It's interesting I married an alcoholic because that is such a noticeable outward thing. As opposed to my sins, I'm able to fool people with my sins. I can just come with my bubbly personality, but alcoholism is so noticeable. And to be married to someone that was just made me feel good about myself. He's the mess, not me. And it's like, no, that's a scapegoat. I'm using him to not have to focus on what's going on in my life.
So are you saying, though, that someone that you use as a scapegoat is someone that is easily criticized?
I'm saying if I pick someone who's in a position, well, I can think of several people now that I'm saying this out loud. I would be around them because they are full of drama or full of problems and chaos. And my problems don't look that bad, or my chaos doesn't look that bad because they're so loud. And that's a person you can scapegoat behind and not really take time to look at yourself because they're so blatantly loud. And when some of those people leave like a social group, then the spotlight could turn on you. Well, maybe I am filled with drama. Maybe I am creating chaos. So there's always that question. But the last one, going back to the question, who in your life is easiest for you to criticize? My last one, I would say I harshly criticize mean people. If they are nasty to me, gossip, treat others unkindly, or any kind of borderline personality, because I am frustrated that they are so nasty to the world. The stuff they do is unforgivable in my eyes, and personally to me has been in a lot of ways, but I've chosen forgiveness because I know that releases me from the pain that was created. But I do judge that and criticize that very harshly. How about you?
So this is bringing up something that I filled out just this week. If something someone suggested to me, it was called "What's Your Primal Question?" Have you ever heard of that?
Mm-mm.
It gets at to like, what's the main question that you're always trying to answer with the way that you engage with people? And then it goes so far as to say, what's your kryptonite? And like, how do you want to be talked to, basically?
Okay.
And my question was, am I loved? And then basically I need to be seen and heard. And my kryptonite is indifference towards me, which is totally spot on.
Yeah.
So when I think about this, the people that I criticize often are the people that I feel like I've had to say the same thing to over and over and over, who haven't heard me or seen me or understood me. Then I just get negative, nasty, irritated, and critical. I
Yeah,
know.
you become all the qualities that you don't want to be. And then there's a choice to make. And as we get older, I know this was hard in high school and college years because you want to be liked. So you just keep trying to be liked more. But that striving energy is so unattractive. And we know it's unattractive. And yet here we are doing it. We can feel ourselves doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, why am I striving for this relationship? Why is this worth my energy?
Mm-hmm. And I do, you're right. I don't like that energy in other people when someone's always negative or like always has a downtrodden
Eeyore.
energy. Yeah, Eeyore. That drives me nuts too. But I turn into that around someone who, like I said, has shown a pattern of not hearing me or, for lack of a better word, respecting my wishes or how I'd like to be treated. You know what I mean? Or talk
Yeah.
to. But I don't know what that says about me either. Maybe, I don't know, there's probably something in there about choosing people who aren't hearing me, going back to fulfilling our own crappy core beliefs.
So what would that core belief be? I'm not worth listening to.
Maybe so. But
And
also, we've talked a lot about we chose people years ago. And now, after a lot of growth, it's like, wait a minute, that behavior, that choice does not serve me.
it's again, growth is scary, honestly. And I understand why a lot of people don't do it because there is loss, because you realize how much you're kowtowing or catering to certain humans to feed your inner sentence of your crappy core belief.
Mm-hmm.
And once you are awake to that, it's almost like a line drawn in the sand. The cutoff game is fierce.
Yeah.
I can take it for quite a while if I'm not in direct relationship with that person or group on a daily basis of the behavior. But once I recognize it in what I'm doing personally and I can feel my striving behavior, I'm good.
Yeah, I think I don't strive anymore. And that's where the criticalness comes in.
I can see that. Interesting. Do you have any other people or types of people that are easy for you to criticize?
I've also noticed myself just this week being very impatient with people who don't have the motivation to just do things without being told.
Yeah,
Or
that's
just,
parenting.
yeah, that's true. And
One-
I think a lot of times when my kids are like, you're so negative, it's probably because why do I have to tell you this again? I've told you this a
Yeah.
million times. But I'm also seeing that in myself in adult life, in work scenarios or whatnot. Sometimes we just have to go for things, try it. And if it doesn't work, you try something else. You know,
Yeah.
we can't wait to be told this is what you need to do. And I know that's a scary proposition. And I know that comes too with experience and learning things, just with anything in life. But I find myself becoming impatient and a little critical of that behavior as well.
So that brings up, since we brought up kid scenarios, that totally brings up something that I just went through in the last couple days. I gave pretty strong feedback and I felt like we agreed on something and then the exact opposite happened. So what that triggered in me was I don't like being lied to.
Mm.
Don't even appease me. If you're not going to do it, then just tell me to my face. But we have to still come up with a solution because that made me feel unheard and unseen. And we came to an agreement. And now what?
Mm-hmm. I know what you're talking about. It's like, were we not both in that same conversation? Why did it turn out different than where we left it?
And the feedback he gave me, I don't want to be criticized. And it's like, I gave feedback because something needed to change. It was a boundary. And if that's how you're going to see it, then you won't be able to be teachable or learn from anyone in the future around things that are blind sides for you. So how do you want me to act, or how do we move on from here is the question.
Well, I think that's a good point. Is it defined as being critical, or is it defined as being forthcoming with a concern or an issue or a complaint? What's the line between overly critical versus honest?
Well, if you have a certain personality type, any feedback is seen as you are a complete loser. That's all they hear.
Well, that's a problem. Like, if we're feeling in ourselves like everything that's told to us that doesn't make us feel like someone's tooting our horn, just because it's not praise or applause does not mean that it's trying to tear you down or criticize. It
Right.
could seriously, and very likely so, if it's coming from someone who's close to you in your life, be coming from a place of love and wanting to help you live a happier, healthier life. And along with the person that's giving you that feedback, it's not to tear you down or make you feel bad.
Yeah, I would say the amount of times you bring it up, which is probably where the line is because now we're seen as critical because we keep bringing it up. But really, the problem is we didn't have a final conversation of accountability of what you're actually going to do about this problem. So there's no real agreement. And then it's just me checking in. Well, where are we at? What's the solution? What ideas do you have? The problem still hasn't been taken care of.
That's what I was going to say. Or, hey, checking in because I'm still seeing the same problem.
Correct.
Yeah, I think that that's really something to look at is how we define criticism and how we receive criticism.
And I would call it feedback.
Yes, that's it. How we define criticism, should it actually be called something else like feedback, and how we receive feedback when it's not meant as criticism.
And to me, it's not you reaching out to me because you've been reading my Facebook posts for 3 years, you read my book, and now you've said nothing to me for 3 years, and now you've sent me a 2-page letter on how you feel I'm lining up with your viewpoint of what a Christian should look like.
Wait, what? That happened to you recently?
Yeah, no, that's happened to me in the past.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, wait, who are you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think we need to be giving feedback and criticism unless someone asks.
In that scenario.
We have no relationship with.
Right. That's the key. If you have a relationship with them, I think feedback is always welcome and expected. Right?
Yes. Well, you have to, in a relationship that you're trying to build to a number 10 relationship, you have to have communication.
And feedback is a gift in that situation. In any relationship, feedback is a gift. Even in workplace, feedback is a gift. It's somebody pointing your attention towards something that needs to be addressed that otherwise you may miss. So take it as a gift.
Yeah, I don't want my family members to trip, but then it goes back to the love and logic idea, which is totally how I raise my kids, is you want them to make mistakes so that they can feel the consequences when they're young, so they're not doing it when they're 40 and they're creating complete devastation in their life because they've never had consequences.
Yeah. Well, and that's another layer of, should we be giving feedback on other people's actions that don't affect us? Probably not. Let them suffer the consequences or let them go through the natural outcomes so that they do learn. But when it's about us personally and how it's affecting us, then I think it's our responsibility to give feedback. But to your earlier example, if you don't have that relationship, feedback is not a gift. It's just probably not warranted if you don't have the relationship with someone.
I think it completely ends the relationship. And I feel like
it stops it from starting.
Yeah. It will never start because I just deem that person as, wow, you felt the need to share that when you felt close to me because I'm super vulnerable on my posts, but you haven't been vulnerable and returned the vulnerability or the trust for that matter. That's not your place to comment on. You can pray for me, but that just closed a deal of us ever actually being close because that's not a person I want to be close to, I guess is the best way to put it. So that's interesting. Oh, do you know that quote? All the people that are in counseling are the victims of the ones that need counseling the most. Have you heard that quote?
No, but it's probably accurate.
It's like all the victims are striving to be better humans and more lovable and forgiving and shame-free. And yet the perpetrator doesn't feel like they need any work. So it's just, I have always thought that quote was very funny because we keep the counseling offices and the counselors working. But a lot of times it's like we're just trying to heal what was broken us by another.
I did see that, a similar quote around narcissistic people, which is such a buzzword these days, but it was like narcissists, you know, the only one who everyone around them ends up in therapy except for them.
Yeah. And that's a true, I mean, I've studied that pretty hardcore just because I've had to figure out what actually happened. But any kind of borderline personality disorder, that's in the pie with alcoholics, sociopaths, psychopaths, addiction, narcissists. So there's a pie and we we could be on a sliding scale on any of them. We all have narcissism in us. It is a buzzword, but it explains things very quickly. Hey, this is a toxic behavior or person in my life. I don't like to put labels like that on people. And at the same time, sometimes it's just easier to just be like, yeah, it's this. Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah, it kind of explains it all in one word.
Yeah, like there's possibly no healing even. And a lot of people have studied it. It's like Alzheimer's, where you're missing parts of your brain on a brain scan. It's the same. I think it's the frontal lobe, but don't quote me, but it's missing the whole aspect of where empathy comes from. So going back to the conversation, I know when I'm in a place of insecurity, hurt, or self-protecting, that my critical spirit is an easy but not real solution to maybe feeling better about my situation. I go into critical spirit instead. And I do call it critical spirit because I do think it is a spiritual issue. If we stopped ourselves and realized our nasty comments and thoughts say more about us than them, it might stop us from doing it so often. One of the hardest teachings of Jesus is also one of the clearest. And he says, do not judge. Judgment places us in a position that was never ours to occupy. Most criticism feels justified. We convince ourselves we're discerning, we're wise, observant, or simply telling the truth. Yet Jesus points to something deeper. Every time we become preoccupied with someone else's shortcomings, we often lose sight of our own. The scary part about a critical spirit is that it can disguise itself as righteousness.
So this goes right along with, I was reading a book the other day that referenced the scripture in Matthew. And so I looked it up and I just could not stop reading it or getting it out of my head afterwards. The verse Matthew 23:24, and it's where Jesus is criticizing the religious hypocrites and saying, you blind guides, you strain out a gnat but swallow a camel. And I'm like, how just visually descriptive is that? You strain out a gnat, but you swallow a camel.
Yeah.
And we can be so judgmental and critical that we're not even seeing the bigger picture. And it's also, along the lines of the speck and the plank, right?
Well, I love the visual of that because I can just see this huge piece of wood coming out of my eye and it's like banging on things. But yet I'm focused on this little teeny speck in someone's eye.
Yeah.
But I can't see this huge piece of wood coming out of my own.
Yeah, that one is Matthew 7:3-5. Why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye?
Yeah.
Same sentiment.
Yep. And this is honestly, personally, why I never write political rants. Like, I just don't get into all that stuff because there's so much unhealed humanness going on. And we're just clanging cymbals and we're hitting each other's wood planks coming out of each other's eyes instead of like coming from a really healed place of, I see your opinion and I see why this matters to you. And I actually want to hear what your thoughts are on this and how it's affected you, instead of being lumped up in a group of Christians that believe this and hate this. It's like, you don't know me. You don't know anything about me, except they do if they listen to the podcast. But same example as above, you can't come at me with feedback that I'm a closed-minded fool because I don't believe the same way you do, because you have a very strong opinion about that issue. I don't understand it because I haven't personally had the issue in my own life, but you've been so forthcoming with your abrasiveness. I have no desire to listen to what you have to say because you're rude. That doesn't bring in the vulnerability and the trust and the love into the conversation. So therefore, I'm complete.
Yeah. And you just said it, the vulnerability, which goes back to, this is somewhat answering my question earlier. How do we define criticalness? Critical to me is when you're not balancing it with your own weaknesses. So seeing the plank in your own eye. If I'm going to call out the speck in your eye, then I'm going to also acknowledge the plank in my own. And maybe that'll make you receive it as not criticism and it doesn't come across as so critical.
My mom will hate that I'm using this as an example, but it's pretty funny. She is so opinionated about the outfits that teens wear, which I mean, it is. It's very revealing. I mean, we were in Mexico and the outfits and the swimsuits, butt cheeks and everything, everything's showing basically. And she just cannot help herself to make a comment. But in the meantime, we do not look good in our swimsuits. we're just sitting there. We laughed pretty hard because I'm like, you're eating a donut while you're saying that.
That's so funny.
It's just everyone has their thing that upsets them or whatever, but it's time to like stop and say, okay, why do I need to be critical about this? I'm not going to change anyone's belief and they're all going to get a new swimsuit. I'm not going to change the world and what they think's appropriate. And it's cool because we talked to Felty, who came from the Amish community, and he said, I still practice modesty in our family and my whole family's on board with it. And it's like, awesome. Geez, keep toeing the line. We need modesty at this point.
That was a really big discussion in my household about a week ago. And it wasn't a fun one, but yeah, I'm on the side of Felty and I have people not so on the side of Felty.
That's what I mean though. Are you being critical or are you trying to protect your girls?
Well, I'm trying to make them see that like when they make a choice, it can be viewed as a reflection of how they view themselves and how much respect they have for themselves. And what they're putting out to the world is what they're saying. This is how I present myself. Therefore, this is how I want you to receive me, essentially.
I agree.
Make good choices when it comes to how you are clothing and packaging yourself.
And if I were to guess, I think that's what's really going on with my mom, because she actually sees like, or she knows because she's 80, she knows what that creates for that girl to dress like that. And so there's a side comment or a critical comment about it, but really it's, I don't want you to get hurt and used and mistreated because you're putting out an idea that might be confusing to men.
Yeah. Well, and here's the rub. It's like, well, it's a couple things. I've been there. I was young and I probably had the same attitude as a lot of the people we're talking about. So I understand that. But I've also been there and I've been received or perceived by people because of that. And so I understand the negative reactions or treatment that can come from it. So, I always say, learn from my mistakes or learn from the lessons that I've learned and don't make the same mistakes yourself. Easier said than done. So then it goes back to, do we let them undergo the natural consequences or outcomes? That's one situation where I have a hard time with that. But the more I push, the more it'll be pushed on back. So
yeah, I think it's figuring out what to die on a hill for. And that's the hard part of parenting, man.
It is. But also it's hard because I know how much my daughter, I don't want to say that she thinks highly of herself, but I think she respects herself. She has a lot of self-respect. Yeah. So it's like these things aren't lining up. I want your appearance and your choices about your appearance to line up with how you truly feel about yourself and how God feels about you too, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm going to just throw this in there. I've hung out with guys my whole entire life, and I was told pretty much in high school and college that guys are actually more attracted, because they're so visual, they're more attracted to a woman that is quite covered up because it leaves it to his imagination.
Which I hate that term. Like,
I know.
Honestly, like, what are you just imagining this person undressed? I don't want to leave things to your imagination. I don't want you to be able to see it outright.
Yeah, you don't deserve the intimacy of being able to view my whole body.
Yeah.
And that's the part where I always took that seriously. I don't think guys are even attracted to being able to see your whole body. According to Oswald Chambers, criticism divides and wounds. It doesn't heal, it doesn't restore, and it doesn't transform. My experience is that God reveals what is wrong without crushing a person. He's the one who changes you. Most humans cannot give or deliver criticism without causing some pain or crushing a spirit almost. He changes us. People's critical spirits don't. Every criticism that triggers us should cause us to pause instead of react and say to ourselves, why does this bother me so much? Why am I reacting so strongly? And what is God trying to show me? Instead of the knee-jerk response of, that's just abrasive and I'm complete with you.
So I think what you're saying there is every fault in someone else that you're quick to be critical of. Instead, we should pause and say, why does it bother me, right? Saying before we're critical.
Yes, it's me going, why don't I like this person? Why don't I like what she said? Why is it triggering me? Oh, there's something else actually going on if I'm being triggered by it. So great discussion.
Let's add to it with some reflection questions. The first one is, who do you find yourself criticizing most often? And what might that reveal about what is happening inside of you? And what trait, behavior, or personality type triggers the strongest reaction in you? And why do you think it has such power over you? Lastly, where has judgment or criticism prevented you from seeing someone through the same grace you hope to receive yourself?
Perfect.
All right. Hope everyone has a great week.
Thanks so much for joining us today. We know your time is valuable, and we're truly grateful you spent part of it with us. We hope this conversation stays with you and helps you move through the week with more clarity, peace, and purpose.
Be sure to visit us at stillwithpurpose.com. And there you can read our bios, sign up for email encouragement and updates on exciting announcements, and also join our Facebook community.
And if Still with Purpose has encouraged you in any way, please remember to follow, leave a quick review, and share with a friend. It helps more people find these conversations. Have a phenomenal week, and we'll see you next time.